The stars looked different from Proxima Centauri b. Dr. Alan West often found himself staring at the night sky during his evening walks around the research outpost. Earth's sun was just a bright dot from here, 4.2 light-years away. Still, it was home. Alan checked his wrist device. The temperature had dropped to 42 degrees Fahrenheit, and the night creatures of Proxima made their strange calls in the distance. The outpost, a collection of white buildings and domes, glowed softly against the alien landscape. 500 scientists and their families lived here, studying this strange new world. "Getting some fresh air, Alan?" asked Dr. Maria Johnson as she approached. Her brown hair was tied back and she carried sample containers from the biology lab. "Just thinking about home," Alan said. "Hard to believe we've been here 3 years already." Maria smiled. "Miss those Earth sunrises?" "Sometimes, but there's too much exciting work here." Alan pointed to her containers. "New specimens? Plant? Samples from the Northern Valley. They seem to communicate through root systems like Earth's trees, but much faster. I was just heading to the lab to run some tests." They walked together toward the central facility. The colony was Earth's pride, the first permanent human settlement in another star system. It represented everything good about humanity's push into space, cooperation, scientific discovery, and peaceful exploration. The alarm began as they reached the main doors. A high wailing sound that made Alan's heart race. "Proximity alert," Maria said, her face suddenly serious. "Something's entered orbit." They rushed inside. The control center was already filled with the colony's leadership. Captain Paul Winters, head of security, stood looking at the main screen with colony director Dr. Peter Walsh. "What is it?" Alan asked. Walsh turned, his face pale. "Unknown vessels. 3 of them, big ones. They're not responding to hails." The screen showed 3 dark shapes against the stars. They weren't human ships. The designs were all wrong, with curved, organic-looking hulls that reminded Alan of insect shells. "Could be the Veldari," suggested Communications Officer Judy Ryan. "Or maybe the Trelkari." Paul shook his head. "We know what their ships look like. This is someone new." The room fell silent as the largest alien ship released smaller craft, dozens of them heading toward the colony. "Defensive systems online," reported Security Officer Greg Mills. His fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "But sir, they weren't designed for this kind of threat. We're a research outpost." Paul nodded grimly. "I know. Send the distress call, now." Judy began broadcasting immediately. "This is Proxima Centauri Research Outpost, requesting immediate assistance. Unknown. Vessels in orbit. Possible hostile intent. Repeat, this is Proxima Centauri." The first explosion shook the building before she could finish. Alarms blared as emergency lights flashed red. "They're firing on us!" Greg shouted. "Direct hit on the eastern residential section!" Paul grabbed the colony-wide communication system. "All personnel to emergency shelters. This is not a drill. Security teams to defensive positions." Alan felt Maria's hand on his arm. "The children," she whispered. "The school is in the North Dome." They ran. Outside, the sky was filled with alien craft, dark shapes against the stars. Energy weapons fired from their hulls, striking buildings, and tearing through the colony's thin defenses. The school was a low, round building near the colony's edge. As they approached, Alan saw 2 security officers helping teachers evacuate the children. Most were between 6 and 12 years old, many crying or looking around in confusion. "Dr. West," called out Karen Lewis, the head teacher. "Thank goodness we're moving the children to the central bunker." "We'll help," Maria said, immediately taking the hands of 2 small boys. Alan guided a group of older children, trying to keep his voice calm. "Stay together. Follow the security officers. Everything will be okay." It was a lie, and the older kids knew it. The colony had minimal defenses, just enough to handle local wildlife and the occasional small meteorite. Nothing that could stand against an alien attack force. They made it halfway to the central complex when the school exploded behind them. The force knocked several of them to the ground. Alan helped a young girl to her feet, feeling blood trickle down his own face from a cut. Almost there. he encouraged the children, pointing to the central building ahead. Inside the main complex, chaos reigned. Medical staff treated the wounded while security distributed the few weapons they had. Director Walsh was coordinating with the remaining department heads. "Communications?" he asked as Alan approached. Judy shook her head. "They're jamming us. I got part of the distress call out before they cut us off. No way to know if anyone heard." "Someone heard," Paul insisted. "The quantum communication network would have carried it through the relay stations. Help will come." "But when?" asked Dr. Sam Brooks, the colony's chief engineer. "Even at maximum speed, the nearest patrol ship is days away." Another explosion rocked the building. The lights flickered and died, replaced by the dim emergency backup system. "They've hit the power core," Sam reported, checking his tablet. "We're on reserves now." Through the windows, Alan could see strange creatures emerging from the landed ships. They moved with an unsettling coordination, their bodies protected by what looked like natural armor. 6 limbs, compound eyes, mandibles instead of mouths. They were methodical, checking buildings and firing at any humans they found. "They're looking for something," Alan said. "This isn't random destruction." Director Walsh nodded. "The database. Our research. We have years of xenobiology, planetary surveys, and technological development stored here. We need to destroy it," Paul said immediately. "Security Protocol 7. "That's decades of work," protested Dr. Brooks. "And if they get it, they'll know everything about us. Our strengths, weaknesses, colony locations." Paul's voice was firm. "We can't let that happen." Walsh made the decision. "Do it. Initiate the wipe." Sam reluctantly entered the commands to begin erasing the colony's central database. It would take time. The system was designed to preserve data, not destroy it quickly. Outside, the aliens advanced steadily toward the central complex. The few security officers fired their weapons, but the alien armor seemed to absorb the impacts. "We need to buy time," Paul said. "Dr. West, take the civilians to the lower levels. Dr. Johnson, help the medical team move the wounded." Alan led a group of scientists and children down to the sublevels. The reinforced walls might give them some protection, but he knew it wouldn't be enough if the aliens brought their full weapons to bear. In the command center, Walsh tried once more to send a message. The emergency quantum transmitter was designed for exactly this situation. One brief, powerful burst that could cut through almost any jamming. "This is Proxima Centauri Research Outpost. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. Heavy casualties. Cannot hold out long. To any human ships receiving this message, they're after our research. They're studying us before a larger attack. This is not random. They know what humans are. They fear what we might become. Please send help." The transmission cut off as something massive struck the building above. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the remaining lights flickered. In the sublevel, Alan held a young girl who cried for her parents. He told her stories about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests, about a world where humans had evolved to survive against all odds, about a species that had faced countless threats and always found a way to endure. He hoped it wasn't the last time these children would hear about home. Through the walls, they could hear the aliens breaking in, the sound of strange weapons and the screams of people. Alan closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of Earth so far away. He thought of all the human ships out there in the darkness. "They'll come," he whispered to himself. "Humans always come for their own." The wall ahead began to glow red as something cut through from the other side. The USS Horizon was 3 days away from Earth when they received the broken message from Proxima Centauri. Captain Lisa Morgan stood in the ship's command center, listening to the desperate words play again. "This is Proxima Centauri Research Outpost. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. Heavy casualties. Cannot hold out long." Lisa was a veteran of 15 years in space. She had seen pirates, accidents, and natural disasters. But this was different. This was an attack on a peaceful human colony with families and children. "Can we clean up the message?" she asked Communications Officer Ben Price. "Working on it, Captain." The signal came through the quantum network but was badly damaged. Whoever attacked them knew how to disrupt our communications. Lisa turned to Navigation Officer Eric Hughes. How fast can we reach Proxima Centauri? At maximum burn, 3 days. But Captain, we're a research vessel. We have minimal weapons. We also have the fastest engines in the fleet, Lisa replied. She made her decision quickly. Set course for Proxima, maximum speed, and send the message to Fleet Command. Include the original distress call. Ben nodded. Sending now. It will reach Earth in minutes through the quantum network. The USS Horizon turned, its powerful engines glowing blue as it accelerated toward Proxima Centauri. Lisa knew they might be the first to arrive, but they wouldn't be the last. Not once the message reached Earth. On Earth, in the city of Houston, Fleet Admiral Daniel Harrison was reviewing reports when his assistant interrupted him. Sir, emergency message from the USS Horizon. Proxima Centauri is under attack. Harrison moved quickly to the command center of Earth Fleet headquarters. The massive room was filled with screens showing ship positions and status reports. Officers worked at different stations, their faces now serious as the message spread. Play it, Harrison ordered. He listened to the distress call, then to Captain Morgan's additional message. His face remained calm, but those who knew him saw the small signs of controlled anger. The tightened jaw, the narrowed eyes. Alert all ships within 5 days' travel of Proxima, he ordered. Redirect them immediately, then prepare the main fleet. I want every combat-ready vessel assembled at Jupiter Station within 36 hours. Commander Susan Bell, his second-in-command, appeared beside him. Sir, that's over 80 warships. The Galactic Council will see it as a provocative action. Let them, Harrison said. 500 civilians are under attack. We respond with everything we have. The alert went out across the solar system and beyond. From Mars to Europa, from mining outposts to research stations, all available ships changed course. Heavy cruisers like the USS Montana and the USS Dakota, patrol ships like the USS Eagle, and even civilian vessels equipped with defensive systems joined the response. At Jupiter Station, the massive dreadnought USS Everest prepared for departure. At 2 kilometers long, it was the largest human warship ever built. Its weapon systems could destroy small moons. The aliens who had attacked Proxima had no idea what was coming for them. Harrison transferred his command to the Everest, watching as more ships arrived every hour. Across human space, captains dropped what they were doing and set course to help their fellow humans. It was instinct, bone deep and ancient. Humans protected their own. On the 3rd day, as the fleet prepared to depart, the Veldari ambassador requested an urgent meeting. Harrison reluctantly agreed. Ambassador Sinta was tall and thin, with 4 arms and a head that reminded humans of a praying mantis. The Veldari had been humanity's first alien allies, helping them join the greater galactic community. Admiral Harrison, the ambassador began, his translator converting the clicks and whistles of his language to English. The Council is concerned about your fleet movements. Harrison kept his face neutral. We are responding to an attack on our colony, Ambassador, as is our right under the treaty. But such force, 87 warships? It seems excessive for what may be a simple misunderstanding. Harrison's patience thinned. A misunderstanding? Our colonists sent a distress call saying they were under attack, that they had heavy casualties. There is no misunderstanding. The ambassador's large compound eyes blinked rapidly. The Council fears humans may respond excessively. Your species is known for its aggressive tendencies. We're known as Deathworlders, Harrison said evenly. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. Predators, diseases, natural disasters. Earth shaped us to survive, to fight, but also to protect. That is what concerns the Council, Shinta admitted. Humans are the only current spacefaring species from a Class 12 planet. Your instincts, your physical capabilities, your endurance, they are shaped by a world far more dangerous than those of other species. Harrison looked at the display showing the gathered fleet. Those aggressive tendencies you mention, They're what kept us alive on Earth. And now they're what will help us protect our people. The council asks for restraint, the ambassador said. Tell the council that this is restraint, Harrison replied. We're sending a rescue force, not an invasion fleet. After the ambassador left, Commander Bell approached. Do you think the council knows something about the attackers? Maybe. Or maybe they're just afraid of seeing what humans do when truly provoked. Harrison turned to her. Status report? The USS Horizon will reach Proxima tomorrow. The first wave of our fleet will arrive 12 hours later. The Everest and the main force will be 3 days behind them. Harrison nodded. Tell Captain Morgan to assess but not engage unless necessary. I want to know what we're facing before we commit. As the massive fleet prepared to depart, humans across the solar system watched the news. Some with worry, some with pride, but all with the understanding that an attack on one human settlement was an attack on all humanity. On the USS Horizon, now just hours from Proxima, Captain Lisa Morgan prepared her crew. Their sensors showed no signs of the alien ships, but the colony's usual communication signals were silent. We go in ready for anything, she told her officers. The first wave is half a day behind us. Our job is to gather information and help survivors if possible. Dr. Jason Ward, the ship's chief medical officer, had prepared the medical bay for casualties. How bad do you think it is, Captain? Lisa's face was grim. The message said heavy casualties. We should prepare for the worst. As the Horizon approached Proxima Centauri b, they began detailed scans of the planet. The colony's power signature was weak but present. There were life signs, but far fewer than there should have been. Take us into orbit, Lisa ordered. And prepare a shuttle. I want a ground team ready in 10 minutes. From the shuttle bay, Lieutenant Olivia Gray led her security team. 6 men and women equipped with combat armor and weapons designed for both protection and minimal collateral damage. They were trained to save lives first, take them only if necessary. As the shuttle descended toward the damaged colony, Olivia felt the familiar tension before a mission. But this was different. These weren't strangers they were going to help. These were their own people. Remember, she told her team, we find survivors first. Secure the area. Gather information about the attackers. The fleet is coming, and Admiral Harrison will want to know exactly who did this. The shuttle broke through the clouds and they got their first view of the once beautiful colony. Now many buildings were destroyed, with others showing major damage. Fires still burned in some areas. My God, someone whispered as they flew over the destruction. Olivia checked her weapon. Whoever did this is going to regret it. The entire human fleet is coming, and they have no idea what they've awakened. Lieutenant Olivia Gray led her team through the ruins of the Proxima Centauri research outpost. The air smelled of smoke and things Olivia didn't want to name. Buildings that once housed families and laboratories were now broken shells. The beautiful gardens that the colonists had worked so hard to grow were trampled and burned. Stay alert, she told her team over the comm. We don't know if the attackers are still here. Sergeant Kyle Bennett checked his scanner. I'm getting life signs in the central complex, Lieutenant. Faint but steady. About 80 or 90 people. That's all? Olivia asked quietly. The colony was supposed to have 500 people. They moved carefully toward the central building. It was the most damaged structure, with huge holes torn in its walls and roof. The attackers had focused their firepower here. Movement ahead, warned Private Joe Lucas, raising his weapon. A figure stumbled from behind a fallen wall. A man, his face dirty and one arm bandaged. He stared at them with wide eyes. Human ships? He asked, his voice hoarse. You're really here? Olivia lowered her weapon. Lieutenant Olivia Gray, USS Horizon, we received your distress call. The man nearly collapsed with relief. Kyle moved quickly to support him. Dr. Sam Brooks, he said. Colony engineer. We thought we weren't sure if the message got through. It did, Olivia assured him. The first wave of the fleet will be here in hours. The main fleet is 3 days behind. Can you take us to the survivors? Sam nodded and led them to what remained of the central complex. They descended through rubble to the sub-levels where the surviving colonists had taken shelter. The wounded lay on makeshift beds while children huddled together under blankets. Medical supplies were nearly gone. Food and water were carefully rationed. Olivia found Dr. Peter Walsh, the colony director, coordinating what remained of his staff. His face was gaunt with a fresh scar running down one cheek. "Director Walsh, I'm Lieutenant Gray. We have a medical team standing by to evacuate your wounded." Walsh's eyes showed both relief and fury. "How many ships?" "The horizon is here now. 20 more will arrive within 12 hours. The main fleet, over 80 ships, will be here in 3 days." A small smile crossed Walsh's tired face. 80 ships. Good. They need to pay for what they did here. Olivia began organizing the evacuation of the wounded to the horizon. Captain Morgan had landed 2 more shuttles with medical teams and supplies. As they worked, Olivia asked Walsh about the attack. "They called themselves the Kren Thuk," Walsh said as they walked through the shelter. "Insect-like species. They communicated through a translation device but seemed to understand English well enough." "What did they want?" Olivia asked. "Information at first. They accessed our databases, copied everything about human physiology, our colonies, our technology." Walsh's voice hardened. "Then they started the tests." "Tests?" Walsh pointed to a group of survivors with strange burns on their exposed skin. "Biological weapons. Different compounds designed specifically for human biology. They tested them on several colonists before we could destroy our labs." Olivia felt cold anger in her stomach. "They studied you, like lab animals." "Yes, they said humans were a biological anomaly that needed to be understood before—" Walsh couldn't finish. Dr. Alan West approached them, carrying a small girl who slept in his arms. "Before they launched their main attack," he finished. For Walsh, "They see us as a threat. They kept asking about Earth, about how humans could evolve on such a dangerous world. They feared Deathworlders," Olivia realized. Alan nodded. "They're from a peaceful world with no predators. They evolved in safety. The idea that humans developed on a planet with thousands of things that could kill us, it terrifies them." "Captain?" Morgan arrived at the shelter with the colony's medical staff. After examining the survivors, she sent an urgent message to Admiral Harrison. "The attackers, the Kren Thuk, used biological weapons developed specifically for humans," she reported. "This wasn't random. They studied our people before attacking. Many of the weapons were designed to cause pain, rather than quick death. The survivors report that the aliens were methodically gathering data on human responses to different compounds." Harrison's response was immediate. "Find them." The first wave of human ships arrived within hours, securing the Proxima Centauri system. They found no sign of the Kren Thuk fleet, but the attack left clues about their technology and capabilities. On the 3rd day, the USS Everest arrived with the main fleet. Admiral Harrison came to the surface to see the destruction firsthand. He walked through the ruins with Captain Morgan and Lieutenant Gray, his face showing no emotion but his eyes taking in everything. They stopped at the makeshift memorial the survivors had created. Simple markers for over 400 dead colonists. Harrison stood silent for a long moment, then turned to Morgan. "Status report." "We've evacuated all survivors to medical ships," she replied. "Our scout vessels have been searching nearby systems but found no sign of the enemy fleet. However, we did find traces of their jump signatures. We can track them." Harrison nodded. "Intelligence assessment?" Lieutenant Jason Ellis, the fleet's chief intelligence officer, stepped forward. "Based on the colony's data and what we've learned, from the attack pattern, the Kren Thuk are a hive mind species. Highly organized, single-purpose. The survivors report they seemed almost confused by individual human responses and emotions. Their weapons? Advanced but focused on efficiency rather than raw power. Their ships are organic technology hybrids, fast, but likely not as durable as ours. The biological weapons they tested suggest they've studied humans for some time without our knowledge." Harrison absorbed this information, then looked back at the memorial. "And their purpose?" Captain Morgan answered. According to multiple survivor accounts, they see humans as an evolutionary aberration. The fact that we evolved on a high-gravity, high-oxygen world with extreme temperature variations and abundant predators makes us inherently dangerous in their view. They're right, Harrison said quietly. He turned to address the gathered officers. Around them, the fleet's ground teams worked to recover what they could from the colony. We have a clear trail to follow. The scout ship Eagle reports traces of their jump signature leading to the Tau Ceti system. That's where we go. The officers nodded, but Commander Bell asked the question on everyone's mind. Orders once we find them, sir? Harrison looked once more at the markers representing hundreds of dead men, women, and children. His voice was calm, but carried absolute conviction. We show them exactly what happens when you attack humans. We show them why Deathworlders are feared. As night fell on the ruined colony, the massive human fleet prepared to depart. In orbit, 87 warships formed up, more firepower than had ever been gathered in human history. The survivors watched from the medical ships, some afraid, some angry, but all understanding what was coming. The fleet jumped to Tau Ceti in perfect formation, hunting those who had dared to attack their people. The Kren Thuk were about to learn why testing the limits of human tolerance had been their greatest mistake. The human fleet arrived at Tau Ceti after 12 hours in jump space. Admiral Harrison stood on the bridge of the USS Everest, watching as his ships emerged from the jump points in perfect formation. The massive view screen showed the star system. Ahead of them, 5 planets orbiting a sun similar to Earth's. Status report, Harrison ordered. Lieutenant Ellis checked his sensors. Detecting artificial structures around the 4th planet, sir. Large ones. And ships. Many more than attacked. The colony. Commander Bell studied the data. Sir, I count over 300 vessels, 3 times our number. Harrison's face remained calm. Scan for weapon signatures and shield capabilities. Their ships are powering up defensive systems, Ellis reported. They've spotted us. Harrison turned to Communications Officer Ryan Baker. Open a channel to the fleet. Baker nodded. Channel open, sir. This is Admiral Harrison. We have located the enemy. They outnumber us, but we have surprise and righteous anger on our side. These Kren Thuk attacked our people. They killed our children. They tested biological weapons on civilians. Today we show them why that was their last mistake. Harrison paused. Battle Formation Omega. Advance at half speed. The human fleet spread out into a seemingly random pattern. To an outside observer it would look chaotic, with ships moving in different directions at different speeds. But every captain knew the plan. Humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They understood warfare in ways hive mind species could not. On the Kren Thuk command ship, Overseer Katix watched the approaching human vessels with compound eyes that could not show emotion, but felt deep concern. They found us so quickly, he clicked to his sub-commanders, and they bring such force for a single colony. Sub-Commander Trelva's antennae twitched. The Deathworlders respond differently than other species. Our studies showed this, but seeing it is disturbing. Their formation makes no sense, noted strategic analyst Zincor. There is no pattern, no logic, just chaos. Katix watched the strange movements of the human ships. No, there is pattern here, but one we cannot understand. Their minds work differently. They evolved to see patterns in chaos, to find advantage in disorder. The main invasion fleet is not ready, Trelva reminded him. We were to study them for another cycle before the full attack on their homeworld. Katix's mandibles clicked in frustration. We must defend what we have. Deploy the fleet in standard formation. Target their largest vessels first. The Kren Thuks. Ships formed neat, organized patterns arranging by size and function. They moved with perfect coordination, like a single organism with many parts. On the Everest, Ellis reported, the enemy is deploying in a classic hierarchical formation. Just as the intelligence report predicted, their largest ships are in the center, protected by rings of smaller vessels. Harrison nodded. They fight like they think, as one mind, one purpose. Begin the attack. Tell the Montana Battle Group to execute flanking maneuver 7. Captain Steve Rogers of the USS Montana received the order and immediately directed his 12 ships to break from the main fleet. They accelerated suddenly, curving around to approach the Krenthuk formation from below. "Weapons hot," Rogers ordered. "Target their outer defensive ring. Fire when ready." The Montana group opened fire, their energy weapons and missiles striking the smaller Krenthuk vessels. The alien ships returned fire, but the human vessels were already changing course, breaking their own formation to attack from multiple angles. Across the battlefield, human ships refused to maintain fixed positions. They moved constantly, making them harder to target. Captains made individual decisions, coordinating with nearby ships but not following rigid plans. It was organized chaos, a fighting style perfected through millennia of humans fighting other humans. On the Krenthuk command ship, confusion spread through the leadership. "They're not following any recognizable battle doctrine," Zincor reported, his voice carrying the strange clicks of distress. "Each ship acts independently, yet somehow they avoid hitting each other." "Their attacks make no sense," Trelva added. "The Montana group struck our outer defenses, then changed targets 3 times in 2 minutes." Katix watched as human ships darted between his neat formations, causing his captains to break their own patterns to respond. "They are using our organization against us. Our ships move in predictable ways. Theirs do not." The battle spread across the system. Smaller human ships engaged the Krenthuk one-on-one, while larger vessels like the Dakota and the Arizona targeted the aliens' command ships. The USS Everest held back, its massive weapons not yet engaged. After an hour of fighting, the humans had destroyed 70 Krenthuk ships while losing only 12 of their own. The alien formation was breaking apart, their coordinated defense falling into disarray. "Now," Harrison ordered, "all ships, execute maneuver knife's edge." The human fleet suddenly converged, forming a wedge shape with the Everest at its tip. They accelerated directly toward the center of the Krenthuk formation, where the largest ships were gathered. "Weapons at full power," Harrison commanded. "Target their command ship." The Everest fired its main cannon, a weapon that could crack a small moon. The beam cut through space and struck the Krenthuk flagship, overwhelming its shields in seconds. But Harrison had ordered a precision strike. The beam didn't destroy the ship but disabled its engines and weapons. "Boarding teams ready," he ordered. "I want prisoners." On the crippled Krenthuk flagship, Katix felt something new. Fear. Not the collective anxiety of the hive, but personal, individual fear. The Deathworlders had torn through his fleet, using tactics that made no sense to his ordered mind. Now they were coming aboard. Human boarding parties from the Everest, led by Lieutenant Olivia Gray, cut through the Krenthuk ship's outer hull. They moved in small teams, adapting to the alien environment as they encountered it. The Krenthuk defenders were numerous but confused, unable to predict the humans' movements or coordinate effectively against them. Gray led her team directly toward the command center, following the ship schematics they had pieced together from the colony's data and their own scans. "Remember," she told her team, "we want prisoners. Admiral Harrison wants to speak with whoever ordered the attack on our colony." They fought their way through the ship, facing determined but increasingly disorganized resistance. The Krenthuk were physically stronger than humans, with natural armor and 6 limbs that could each wield a weapon. But humans were faster, more adaptable, and fighting with a cold rage that made them nearly unstoppable. When they reached the command center, Gray used breaching charges to blow the sealed doors. Her team entered with weapons ready, finding Katix and his sub-commanders still at their posts. The massive overseer turned to face them, his alien features impossible to read. "You fight like no species we have ever encountered," Katix said through his translator. "We studied you. We thought we understood what Deathworlders were. We were wrong." Gray's expression was cold. "Admiral Harrison wants to speak with you. You're coming with us." Around the ship, other human teams secured key areas and downloaded the Krenthuk database. The battle outside continued, but the outcome was now certain. Despite being outnumbered 3-1, the human fleet had shattered the alien formation. The remaining Krenthuk vessels were retreating or surrendering. Humanity had shown the galaxy why Deathworlders were feared, and they weren't finished yet. Overseer Katik stood in the conference room of the USS Everest, his 6 limbs bound with restraints that allowed minimal movement. 4 human guards watched him, their weapons ready. Despite being captured, the massive insect-like alien held himself with dignity. The door slid open and Admiral Harrison entered. He dismissed the guards with a simple nod. "You are not afraid to be alone with me?" Katix asked, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into English. Harrison sat at the table. "Should I be? I am stronger than you, faster. My natural armor can withstand your hand weapons. And yet, here you are," Harrison said simply. "Captured, your fleet defeated, your invasion plans in ruins." Katix's antennae twitched. "How did you know about the invasion?" "We didn't until now." Harrison smiled slightly. "But it makes sense. You attacked a small colony. You tested weapons designed specifically for humans. You gathered data. The logical next step would be a larger attack." The alien's compound eyes studied Harrison. "You are more perceptive than we expected. This is why Deathworlders are dangerous." Captain Morgan entered with a data pad and placed it before Harrison. "The translation of their battle plan, sir. They were preparing to attack Earth in 3 months. Harrison reviewed the information. "With a fleet of over 1,000 ships, targeting major population centers with biological weapons designed to cause maximum casualties." "It was necessary," Katik said. "Our simulations showed that within 200 years humans would dominate the galaxy. Your rapid adaptation, your aggressive expansion, your technology development, all faster than any species we have encountered. So, you decided to exterminate us before we became a threat," Harrison said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were cold. It was logical. "You evolved on a world that should not produce sentient life. Earth has high gravity, extreme temperature variations, thousands of predator species, natural disasters, diseases. No other spacefaring race came from such conditions. It makes you unpredictable." Harrison considered this. "And your world?" "Perfect balance. No large predators, stable climate, abundant resources. We evolved in harmony, developing a unified consciousness. Our society has known peace for 10,000 years. Until you decided to wipe out humanity," Harrison noted. Katix's mandibles clicked. "A necessary violence to preserve galactic stability." Harrison stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, the human fleet surrounded the remaining Krenthuk ships. The battle was over. "You know what's interesting about humans, Overseer? Everything you fear about us is true." The alien watched him silently. "We did evolve on a deadly world." Harrison continued. "Earth shaped us to be survivors, to adapt quickly, to fight when necessary. But that same harsh world taught us something else: cooperation. Humans learned early that we survive better together than alone. A trait many species share," Katik said. "True. But Earth taught us something special: how to work together while remaining individuals. Each human thinks differently, sees problems differently. In your hive mind, you all think alike. When one solution fails, you all fail." Harrison turned back to the alien. "That's why your fleet lost today. Your ships moved as one, followed the same tactics. When those tactics failed, they had no alternatives. My captains each made their own decisions, adapted on the fly, surprised you at every turn." Dr. Frank Collins entered the room with his own data pad. "Admiral, we've analyzed their biological weapons. They're sophisticated but limited by their understanding of human physiology. They underestimated our immune systems and genetic diversity." "Another gift from Earth," Harrison told Katix. "Our bodies fight back, adapt, overcome." Katix's posture changed slightly. "What happens now, Admiral? Do you destroy our homeworld? Take revenge for your colony?" Harrison's expression remained neutral. "That would prove your fears correct, wouldn't it? Show that Deathworlders can only respond with violence and destruction." He touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared showing the Proxima Centauri colony, not as it was now destroyed, but as it had been, peaceful with gardens and laboratories. "This is what humans build when left in peace," Harrison said. "Research centers, families, communities. We didn't leave Earth because we destroyed it. We left to explore, to learn, to grow." Captain Morgan spoke up. "Sir, the fleet is in position. The remaining Krenthuk ships have surrendered. Their homeworld is undefended." Harrison nodded. "Prepare a message for transmission to their planet." Communications Officer Ryan Baker quickly set up the equipment. "Ready, sir." Harrison faced the camera. "This is Admiral Daniel Harrison of the United Earth Fleet. Today we defeated your invasion force and captured your military leadership. We know about your plans to attack Earth. We know you fear humans because we evolved on what you call a death world." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You're right to fear what we could become if provoked to war. The same adaptations that helped us survive Earth make us formidable enemies. But that's not all we are." Harrison gestured to Katix. "Your overseer will be returned to you, along with all prisoners. Your damaged ships will be allowed to return home. We will not attack your worlds or colonies. Instead, we offer something unexpected: peace." The alien leader's antennae moved in what might have been surprise. "Humans understand something you don't," Harrison continued. "Strength isn't just about survival or domination. True strength is knowing when not to use your power. Earth taught us to fight when necessary, but also to build, to heal, to forgive." I leaned closer to the camera. "But understand this clearly. If you ever attack a human settlement again, you will face the full might of humanity. Today, you saw only a fraction of our fleet, fighting defensively. You don't want to see what we can do when truly provoked to war." The message was sent across the system to the Krenthuk homeworld. For several minutes, there was silence. Then, a response came. The Krenthuk ruling council accepted the terms and requested formal peace negotiations. Later, as Katix prepared to return to his people, he spoke privately with Harrison. "Your mercy is unexpected." "Not mercy," Harrison corrected. "Wisdom. Another thing Deathworlders learn early: unnecessary conflicts waste resources and lives. The Council will honor the peace," Katix said, "but others in the galaxy will still fear humans." Harrison smiled slightly. "Good. Fear can lead to respect when handled properly, and respect leads to real peace." As the human fleet prepared to return home, they carried with them the survivors of Proxima Centauri and a new understanding of their place in the galaxy. Humans were indeed Deathworlders, adaptable, unpredictable, and formidable in war. But they were also builders, explorers, and when possible, peacemakers. The galaxy would remember what happened when the SOS triggered the Deathworlder fleet. It would remember the devastating efficiency with which humans fought. But it would also remember their restraint when victory was achieved, and throughout the stars the message spread: humans are dangerous, yes, but only when threatened. Treat them with respect, and these Deathworlders might become the galaxy's greatest allies instead of its most fearsome enemies. Admiral Harrison stood on the observation deck of the USS Everest, watching the stars as they began the journey home. He thought about Earth, beautiful, terrible Earth, that had prepared humanity for the universe in ways they were only beginning to understand.